You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So, the day after the 4th of July here in the Paracast, we have the one, the only, the inimitable Don Ecker, host of Dark Matters Radio. Our guest co-host is J. Randall Murphy. And we're going to have a fascinating session. In fact, there's already one interesting question from our audience that we'll deal with later. But right now, I suppose we should deal with other issues. Now, I wanted to go back a little bit in the past because last week we were talking about a book, Traveler, fictionalized version of the Aurora, Texas case. And there was a piece that you posted in the Paracast forums, Don, about William Cooper. Maybe give our listeners kind of a remembrance of that.
William Cooper was a fellow that surfaced back originally in July of 1988 on the old Paranet system when it was still being helmed by the founder, Jim Spicer. And he came onto the Paranet with a story that while he was a naval crew member on board a diesel submarine back in the mid-1960s, he was a lookout on the bridge when he witnessed a gigantic UFO object leave the ocean and fly up into the clouds, and then shortly later, either that object or one identical to it came back and once again dove beneath the waves. Now, that was basically his original story. As time went along, he had allied himself with John Lear, the son of aviation stormy genius Bill Lear of Learjet Corporation. And Lear, during that period of time, had released a inflammatory thesis on the UFO topic, claiming that the United States government had entered into a secret treaty with extraterrestrials here on planet Earth in an exchange for technology from the extraterrestrials. This is what was in Lear's paper. The government allowed the ETs to conduct covert animal mutilations, cattle mutilations, and abductions of human beings for biological material and biological examination. As time went along, both those guys were coming under increasing scrutiny and sometimes fierce criticism because Cooper had allied himself with Lear. As more time went along, Cooper's story evolved and changed from what was originally a simple military sighting to being an insider in the Navy on a covert naval briefing team in Hawaii that made him privy to practically all the conspiracies then current in the United States and around the world. You had to be there to witness it and to believe what was happening. Now, there were a lot of things going on then. The Bob Lazar story, which came out of Las Vegas with television journalist George Knapp and many others. Well, because of my position at UFO Magazine, I was privy to all of this, actually quite a bit more. Some of it later became public knowledge. Other bits and pieces didn't. But as this was going on, alliances were changing. There was a lot of acrimony that was happening. Cooper, originally a very polite guy, not the overbearing thug that he later became, But Cooper was apparently dealing with a lot of personal demons. He had a severe alcoholism problem. He became extremely antagonistic toward anybody that ever questioned him or his sources. It would get to the point where there would be screaming, shouting matches. And at several UFO conferences where Cooper attended, even degenerated into physical fights. I mean, it was quite a shameful mess, quite frankly. Now, because of several things that happened in Vegas involving Lazar, George Knapp, John Lear, and Bill Cooper, Cooper had appeared on one of Knapp's television programs along with John Lear. And along with Lear's original hypothesis, there was another document that popped out called the O.H. Krill Papers.
O.H. Krill Papers. Now, if I was writing science fiction, anything with the word krill would sound like a really big cliche.
Well, you've got to be familiar with the history of a lot of this, which I am. Back in the 50s, naval intelligence in the United States was contacted by a woman back east who alleged that she had been in mentally telepathic communication with an extraterrestrial by the name of Krill, Kryll. And that's a little known footnote in the history of UFO history. And the Navy investigators came out, they questioned her, and they did some kind of an investigation on it. And we're talking over 60 years ago. So the O.H. Krill documents, Krill, actually ended up being another thesis that John Lear and another guy by the name of John Grace, who back then, was still an active duty Air Force non-commissioned officer, NCO. Grace had written some other things, conspiratorial things, some wild, crazy theories about UFOs that he bundled up in a book called The Matrix. Lear knew the guy, and they worked on this document. And the problem was Cooper had claimed that back in the early 1970s, when he was a part of this naval briefing team in Hawaii, had seen these documents in Navy files. Well, that was patently impossible because Lear and John Grace had only just written these documents a year or two before. So anyway, when Lear heard Cooper say this on this interview, that he had seen these papers in the Navy back in the 70s, he walked up to him and he said, Bill, he said, what are you doing? He said, what do you mean you saw the papers? I saw the papers. No, you couldn't have seen the papers because John Grace and I just wrote these papers. And Cooper just continued to emphatically state, I saw those papers. I mean, this was a guy you truly could not talk to.
And folks, this story is just beginning. We haven't begun to explore all the things that happened involving William Cooper and these other people. We will continue talking about Cooper with Ecker and Murphy and Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
We also have swag. You know, we have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy We've got like, I guess, 60 or so different items, and entails T-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast jumbo tote bag, all sorts of T-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Heart-related health problems affect millions of people each year. Maybe you're one of the many who suffer from issues related to angina pain, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeat, or clogged arteries. There is a solution that doesn't involve expensive prescription drugs that only mask the problem and leave you with horrible side effects. If you are ready to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself, then you're ready for Heart and Body Extract from Healthy Hearts Club. Here is what one satisfied customer had to say about Heart and Body Extract regarding his angina pain.
I haven't had an angina pain since I've been on it. The Heart Body Extract is just so great. I thank God that I was led to this product that's doing so much for me and that can do so much for other people.
Call to order your 2-month supply of Heart and Body Extract today. Call 1-866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Get the ultimate knife at an ultimate price. The Fox Karambit knife. Finally available in the U.S. The Fox Karambit knife opens with one hand, faster than you can pull a handgun. For utility, for defense, and for way less than other knives of this caliber. Go to theultimateknife.com. Truly the best knife you will ever own, and only available at theultimateknife.com. Use promo code radio at checkout for free shipping. Get the ultimate knife at the ultimate price at theultimateknife.com.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. 800-667-9035. That's 800-667-9035.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to goberkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. goberkey.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Don Ecker, Gene Steinberg, J. Randall Murphy. We'll change the order to make sure everybody's happy. And we're talking about William Cooper and his wacky life. Don.
Yeah, so Cooper, always a paranoid person, always feeling that everybody, for whatever reason, was out to get him, suddenly went on the attack. He attacked John Lear. He attacked George Knapp. And when I say attack, I don't mean a physical attack. but began writing, calling them, which was something he was to become known for, agents of the secret government out to destroy Bill Cooper's information. Lazar ended up taking some of this fire when Cooper claimed that Bob Lazar had been arrested, by the police for running a narcotics laboratory. Now, that was patent pure crap. Although Lazar had been recently arrested and charged, not for running a narcotics laboratory, but for something else, and which I'll explain. But the bottom line was Lazar had been and is, the guy, whatever about his background is true or not, the guy was an electronics genius. And in Clark County, Nevada, which Las Vegas is situated within Clark County, prostitution is illegal, although throughout most of the rest of the state of Nevada, prostitution is legal. And Lazar had known a woman that ran a brothel in Las Vegas, and she had asked him to come over and set up a computer system for her and security cameras for her bordello. Now, in Las Vegas, like I said, prostitution is illegal, although I think we all realize that as a normal run of events, prostitution is overlooked by most of the law enforcement authorities. After all, it's a vacation town, it's a gambling town, it's a drinking town. Of course, you're going to have prostitution. So how Lazar ended up being arrested when Knapp had run his original series of reports which disclosed Bob Lazar and Area 51 to the world, they garnered, his television station garnered unbelievably huge ratings. As a matter of fact, the television station was receiving inquiries literally from all around the globe about this Lazar story. Now, in Las Vegas, they play hardball, and some of the other media companies and TV stations in Vegas were really upset over the huge ratings that Channel 8 had received for these George Knapp reports. So they hired private detectives to follow George Knapp around and Bob Lazar. Lazar was seen going into this bordello. Knapp became privy to the information, and he knew that the competing TV stations were going to do a special report on Bob Lazar seen entering a house of prostitution. I don't know how Knapp found out. I guess he's pretty well plugged in, and he convinced Lazar to preempt this by coming on his show and basically announcing what he had done. Well, that was an election year, District attorneys were running for the position, and we all know how politicians can get really, really wonky during an election year. And here was a guy coming on television on George Knapp's program announcing he had set up a security system for a house of prostitution in the city of Las Vegas. Well, they immediately arrested Lazar and charged him with pandering. In other words, earning a living off of a house of ill repute, which is not what he had done. But, hey, why let a few facts get in the way of a good story? So Cooper took that information and twisted it for his own purposes, because the other thing that Bob Lazar did in his off hours, he ran a speed lab. And what I mean by a speed lab, he was a jet car aficionado, and he had built himself using a jet engine, a car capable of going over 200 miles an hour, propelled by a jet engine. He called that his speed lab. Matter of fact, I had photographs of his car when I ran my stories in UFO magazine. So I saw all this. I was privy to the inside information. I saw what Cooper was doing, which was basically attempting to destroy these guys by smearing their reputations. So I began my investigative piece on Bill Cooper, which ended up becoming known as the Whistleblower series. Several years ago, one day I received an email from a guy I did not know. And I read the email. He described himself as a writer and a journalist. And his name is Mark Jacobson. And Jacobson lives back in Brooklyn, New York. He writes for New York Magazine. He's done a lot of writing back there. He's a well-regarded journalist. And he said he was working on a project, and he wanted to pick my brains about the early days of the UFO field, and primarily involving people like John Lear, Bob Lazar, and Bill Cooper. And a couple of other people too, Lars Hansen, which also figured into this story because of the JFK assassination angle. I mean, guys, this is an incredibly complex story.
It sounds like a smorgasbord of conspiracy theories all packed into one. And before we go on, and Don, it's your turn this time, we've got Don Ecker talking about Bill Cooper and lots of other wacky characters. J. Randall Murphy is our guest co-host. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in.
Where are we? Oh, the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Tired of being censored by Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Patreon? Well, now you don't have to be. OneWay.com is the free speech and human-friendly social network built just for you. Stop feeding the beast. Every post you make on those evil, anti-human, anti-American perverted sites helps them destroy our families, our country, and our souls. Join One Way today and take back your liberty. Your free speech alternative is waiting for you at OneWay.com. OneWay.com.
For USA Radio News, I'm Wendy King. It appears there's some evidence against President Trump's optimistic assessment of U.S. relations with North Korea after his recent summit with Kim Jong-un in Singapore. The North is now accusing the U.S. of what it calls gangster-like demands on its nuclear program. The comments came after high-level talks between North Korean officials and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. An unnamed foreign ministry spokesman lashed out at the U.S. and called the meetings regrettable. During the June summit, the president was confident that North Korea would begin denuclearization right away.
We signed a very, very comprehensive document, and I believe he's going to live up to that document.
North Korea says our expectations and hopes were so naive that it could be called foolish. You're listening to USA Radio News.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-204-2650 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-204-2650. Again, 800-204-2650.
Bitcoin is losing crypto market share to other digital currencies. Bitcoin's astronomical rise has led to the creation of numerous competitors like Ethereum, Ripple, and Litecoin, which have also seen massive gains in value. According to Quartz, Bitcoin made up 85% of the crypto market 1 year ago, and today it has fallen to 36%. Remember, the only way to win in the casino is to take chips off the table. Call Miles Franklin at 866-485-4346 and let us show you how to quickly turn your Bitcoin into the 5,000-year-old safety of precious metals. Miles Franklin can quickly convert your Bitcoin to precious metals with one phone call at 866-485-4346. That's Miles Franklin celebrating our 29th year in business without ever receiving a customer complaint. Call us at 866-485-4346. Fast, easy, safe, and convert your Bitcoin into gold with one phone call.
Hi, it's Grant Cameron from presidentialufo.com. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
I was trying to be funny, and I guess it went over like the proverbial lead balloon.
They've been saying that about me for years. Trying humor and never seems to work. Not to be too humorous, we have, of course, the Paracast Plus. And after the Paracast, our specialty show that is so unusual, we never know what's going to happen next. And that's what makes it so great and so surprising. We have Don Ecker. We have J. Randall Murphy, and we're talking about the smorgasbord of conspiracy theories. Let us continue, Don.
Yeah, so here we had a situation that had so many facets to it. There was so much going on then, not only with the situation involving Bill Cooper, John Lear, George Knapp, and others, but there was another complex conspiracy situation that normally one would not think would enter into UFOs, but it involved the November 1963 assassination of President John Kennedy. Now, I got to stop for a second, and I got to go back a little bit before much of this other business began to happen and basically unravel. Lars Hansen was a guy who for years had been kind of on the outlier area as working as a writer and a journalist. And Hansen had always been fascinated by the facts of what had happened with the JFK, the John F. Kennedy murder in Dallas, Texas. Now, he had been working, at the time he was located in California, he'd been working with a couple of guys in Northern California. And these guys had gotten their hands on a fourth, possibly fifth generation copy of the Zapruder film. Now, what they wanted to do was to take this to a lab and basically examine it frame by frame to see if there was anything in this Zapruder film that might provide some more evidence about what actually happened. So what they did with this copy of this film, they took it into the lab. They washed all the color, because originally Zapruder film was a colored film, okay? It was not just black and white. It was shot in, as NBC used to say, in living color. So they washed the color out of the film. Now they were working with basically a black and white film. And as they're examining this, just at almost the instant that Kennedy is shot in the head, for just a brief flash of a second, there is what looks like the driver holding a handgun pointed back in the rear of the car. Now, when Hansen saw that, he started working on the assumption that the Secret Service driver, there were two Secret Service agents in the car, Roy Kellerman, who was in the passenger seat, and William Greer, who was the driver, okay? And he got a copy of this, and he was looking for somebody with a lot of money behind them, deep pockets, to launch a real first-class professional investigation. Now, he was down in Denver. I'm sorry, excuse me. He was down in Las Vegas. And when he was in Las Vegas, he came across a flyer that had highlighted John Lear giving one of his UFO talks somewhere. Now, at that point in time, we're talking about 89, okay, 88, 89. Lear was one of the hottest tickets on the UFO circuit, not only because of his inflammatory thesis, but also because he was the son of Bill Lear of Lear-Sigler Corporation. I mean, you're talking about a high-profile guy. Not only that, but Lear had been a pilot, had flown for CIA contract airlines in Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War, and then in other areas of the world around the globe. And I mean, you know, here was somebody that initially had a real flash of glamour. So Hansen went to see Lear, not knowing at the time that Bill Lear, Lear's father, who then was deceased at this point, had disinherited his son, John, okay, before he died. In other words, he cut him out of the family fortune. I'm not sure what the hell happened, but they had some kind of a huge falling out. So Hansen made one of the biggest mistakes of his life. He gave a copy of this tape, it was called Dallas Revisited, to John Lear. Well, Lear immediately made a bunch of copies and started sending them around to people he knew. And one of the people he gave a copy to was to Bill Cooper. Suddenly, Bill Cooper said, "Oh my God, where did you get this? Oh, I've been looking for this for years." And then he started to claim that he had read all about JFK's assassination in his secret Navy files. Okay. So he began incorporating this into his talks and showing this as one of the highlights of his talks. And over the next several years, people began to actually, and I'm talking about all around the world, not just here in the United States, but all around the world, that JFK's Secret Service driver, okay, was actually the shooter that fired the fatal headshot into JFK. Now, at first, Cooper was claiming that the guy used a .45 caliber automatic pistol. But when it became obvious that there was no muzzle blast, and a .45 has significant muzzle blast, then he changed his story. He saw some video from the Frank Church Committee hearings in the 70s.
Don, just before you go on, I'm not a gun expert, so when you say muzzle blast, it sounds to me like it's in Greek. I'd like to order 2 muzzle blasts with the gyro or something. Can you explain to our listeners?
Yeah, I can. I mean, it's pretty self-evident. When you fire a .45 caliber pistol or any other firearm, okay, there's a blast of gas resulting from the propellant, the gunpowder, pushing the projectile out the muzzle. And this flies out the end of it. And in a weapon as powerful, especially at close range, as a .45 caliber automatic pistol, it has significant blast coming out of the muzzle when it's fired.
We've got more to come on the Paracast. We've got Don Ecker explaining all sorts of interesting things about William Cooper and all these wacky conspiracy theories. J. Randall Murphy, guest co-host. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Want revenge on the common housefly? Well, after 10,000 years, someone has finally come up with a better way. The Bug Assault, a miniaturized shotgun, which utilizes ordinary table salt as ammunition. Non-toxic and no batteries required. So much fun, you'll forget you have a wife and kids. $39.95 and free economy shipping. Use discount code GCN and get an extra 10% off your purchase at bugassault.com. Fire your fly swatter. Get your Bug Assault today.
If you like alkaline water, or know someone that does, you're going to love the Dillon Living Water Bottle. It creates alkaline water on the go while reducing plastic waste and saving you money. Made with surgical-grade stainless steel, the Dillon bottle increases the pH up to 9 to deliver both alkaline and antioxidant water anywhere you want it. Alkaline water is healthier, tastes better, and can even boost energy. The Dillon bottle makes it easy and affordable to be healthy and achieve optimal hydration. Get your Dillon bottle today at byln.co. That's byln.co.
It's a no-brainer. A Big Berkey water filter is the one you need, period. You need a water filter that removes chlorine, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, BPA, and other endocrine disruptors, pesticides, bacteria, viruses, and much more, right? And does it all at only 2 cents per gallon. Get the original and most trusted name in gravity water filtration, Big Berkey. And now GCN listeners receive 5% off ceramic filter systems using code GCN. Call or click 1-877-99-BERKEY or BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-261-9818 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-261-9818. Again, 800-261-9818.
Tired of being censored by Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Patreon? Well, now you don't have to be. OneWay.com is the free speech and human-friendly social network built just for you. Stop feeding the beast. Every post you make on those evil, anti-human, anti-American perverted sites helps them destroy our families, our country, and our souls. Join One Way today and take back your liberty. Your free speech alternative is waiting for you at OneWay.com. OneWay.com.
Hi, this is Bryce Abel. I'm the producer of Dark Skies, the co-author of AD After Disclosure, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
You see, now I'm learning more and more about guns. And I have to tell you, through my entire life, which is many, many thousands of decades, I've only actually handled a gun once. I know Don feels pity towards me, right?
Hey, everybody's got to do what they got to do.
But as long as we have heroes like you who handle those weapons and protect us, we don't worry about it. Go ahead, please.
Well, Cooper then changed his story because he had seen a clip from the Frank Church CIA hearings where the CIA at one point had developed a air pistol, a pneumatic air gun that would fire a pellet virtually soundlessly filled with toxins or a poison, which would incapacitate and then kill the intended target. So he changed his story from this 45 that the driver had to an air gun. And it was all, once again, patently crap. What actually did everybody see? Well, back in 1963, men, for the most part, all around the country, used in their hair that greasy kid stuff, it's like Brill cream, okay, to slick down their hair. When Lars Hansen and his two other buddies had washed the Keller out of this poor multi-generational copy of the Zapruder film, that flash for just an instant that looked like a gun was actually a reflection off of Roy Kellerman, the other Secret Service agent's head. Excuse me, he used that greasy kid stuff. So this was literally to fill the airwaves, the TV waves, all around the country. All the tabloid shows of the day at one point or another mentioned this. Now, while all this was happening, Hansen was going ballistic over what Lear did. He had specified to Lear that this is not for general dissemination. This is strictly for your eyes only. Lear basically betrayed that trust, especially when he gave it to a charlatan and a fraud master like Cooper, who immediately incorporated it into his dog and pony show. So I'm contacted by this writer back in New York, and we set a date where we had a telephone chat, about 3 hours. I basically gave him a thumbnail sketch of everything that was happening at that time. We're talking about circa 1988, 1989, and 1990.
Just for a second here, we've kind of jumped from Lazar and Knapp to Hansen and Lear and Cooper. And so I'm kind of wondering, is there any connection here still between Lazar and Knapp, or just to help keep our listeners focused on the train of events here? Is Lazar and Knapp long gone and over with, and now we're simply on to...
No, they're not.
Okay, so we're going to bring this around and connect that back up with Lazar and Knapp at some point, I'm assuming.
Well, you'd be assuming right, Randall.
All right, cool. Let's carry on.
Thank you. So, what we now had, was this morass that literally was tearing the UFO field apart. As I told this to Mark Jacobson, the writer, I sent him back copies of a lot of my research on this. You see, Randall, part of what we're talking about is concerned with the notice that I put up on the Dark Matters radio site on the Paracast, this up and coming book. Now, I realize that this is a long, convoluted, and complex story. But basically, what we were getting to was the facts of this book. And I had also provided to Mr. Jacobson a copy of my 2-hour expose show that I had put together on Bill Cooper. And by the way, that show is available in the Dark Matters radio site on the Paracast. I don't know if you've ever heard it or not, but
Dark Matters? Oh yeah, good show. I've listened to quite a few episodes. Fabulous resource for the ufology community.
So this was something that Jacobson incorporated a great deal of my research into his book. Now, basically, a lot of people who are not familiar today with Cooper, he was shot and killed by police. He was involved in a gunfight with police, attempting to serve a felony warrant on him for threatening someone with a handgun. Guy was basically a medical doctor who had inadvertently somehow entered Cooper's property, turned around and left, and Cooper chased him down, forced him off the road, and pulled him from his car at gunpoint. I'm sure the poor guy was terrified. Cooper then was also wanted by federal authorities for tax resistance and bank fraud. I mean, like I said, complex story. This guy had basically, he ended up burning all his bridges in the UFO community. Now, George Knapp was one of the people that put a light on this guy, showing his prevarications, his lying deceit, his outright plagiarism, and a number of other things. One of the things that Cooper had done was to go after Robert Lazar, the alleged Area 51 scientist who claimed he had worked on recovered alien technology. Now, like I said, I had been on the scene with most of this. Now, back in 1988 and then 1989, there were then no Art Bells. There were no Don Eckers, because I began broadcasting my first radio show in 1991. It had been years hence since there were other broadcasters like Long John Nebel and later his wife, Candy Jones. There basically was nobody out there. There was no internet per se where people could go to look this information up. But there was a guy in Las Vegas by the name of Billy Goodman, who had what ended up being a wildly popular radio program called The Billy Goodman Happening, until the radio station, for unknown reasons, I don't know why, canceled the show and fired Goodman. But for a while, he had a hot radio program, and it was hot. It took off when shortly after Bob Lazar came onto the scene through George Knapp, and Goodman secured him on his radio show. And good heaven, the intense curiosity, and it was a big signal. At certain times of the night, you could hear his show literally all over the western United States. Now, during this early time, one of Goodman's callers called in was Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper came on this show and gave Lazar a glowing testimonial about how he, Bill Cooper, had personally checked out Bob Lazar through his contacts, and the guy was the real thing.
You know what? We have some more real things to talk about in our next segment. And before we split, let me remind you to go to plus.theparacast.com, plus.theparacast.com for the Paracast Plus. Write that down. That's plus.theparacast.com. Once again, that's plus.theparacast.com. You have no idea what's going on here. Anyway.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah, well, it won't be heard, so who cares? Anyway, Don, Randall, Gene, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
I tried other brands, but I came back to my Sunshine.
For the best hot or cold pain relief, get the best. Get a Sunny Bay heating pad.
Sometimes life can be a pain in the neck, or back, or shoulder.
And the best relief for that pain is a Sunny Bay heating pad. Did you know that the American College of Physicians said that one of the best ways to treat muscle pain is heat therapy? Sunny Bay heating pads are handmade with high quality, can be used at home or at work, and have a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy.
Why take another pill?
Many people use our Sunny Bay heating pads alone and got rid of the neck pain.
Long distance travel or long hours in front of a computer can take its toll on your body.
Our homegrown small business tries to help people just like us. That's why we design and test our handmade products with great care before we introduce them to the public. You can easily find Sunny Bay heating pads on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com and search for Sunny Bay heating pads.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Oh, what a story. You know, this story can take us through 10 shows and maybe not cover even the essence of it, Don Ecker. What a fascinating thing. I want to ask you about one other topic when we finish this one. Well,
that thing.
I kind of did and kind of had it in the back burner at the time. I was not immersed in every little tiny detail.
Okay, well, we've got this book, right? It's called Pale Horse Rider, William Cooper, The Rise of Conspiracy and the Fall of Trust in America. And from what I can tell here, the title was inspired by a book that Cooper had published called Behold a Pale Horse in 1991. Are you going to get to that there, Don? And I don't want to steal your thunder here.
Yeah. So when all this was coming down, when Cooper suddenly launched his attacks on Lazar, on John Lear, on George Knapp, as I had mentioned earlier, and I have to really stress this, Cooper, had been upfront to the point of belligerence, telling anybody and everybody that if you ever try to hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you first. And then he decided he was going to write a book. The book ended up becoming Behold a Pale Horse. In the book, Cooper, and if you find a copy of the book today, you'll find Cooper in the book talking about the alien conspiracy. Well, in 1990, I did part one of my two-part expose on Cooper. I had been watching him, had been following him, had watched the people that he had ripped off, had plagiarized. And a lot of people in the UFO field then, and some very prominent people that were on the periphery of the field, one of them being Colonel Bo Greitz, who was a very well-known name then. Lars Hansen and his driver theory knew Greitz quite well. Hansen had helped Greitz in writing several books that Bo Greitz wrote, had come out against Cooper. Now, suddenly, Cooper was getting it from all sides, and he abruptly disassociated himself from the overall UFO gestalt. He entered, then, the Patriot Militia movement, and he was basically a militia of one. He wasn't really involved with any particular group, and he began a shortwave radio program on shortwave called The Hour of the Time that ran for several years before, I guess, for whatever reason, he could no longer afford to pay. It was a pay-as-you-go thing. But his show, by all accounts, was very popular. Then his book was published. Now, it took a little while for the book to catch on, but surprisingly, one of the places that it caught on was in the American prison systems. His book, Behold a Pale Horse, is the most popular book in American prisons.
Whoa. Not Johnny Cash's music?
No. Bill Cooper's book. Because it basically claims that there is this overarching conspiracy coming down from Big Brother and the feds to ultimately, all right, and this is what Cooper was preaching, to ultimately enslave us all, do away with the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, freedom of speech, do away with the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, the right to keep and bear arms by the civilian public. Cooper was claiming that they were ultimately geared toward doing this. Now, back in the early days, at the behest of the gray aliens. But now Cooper was claiming that there are no gray aliens. It was all U.S. government conspiracy to make people think there were gray aliens out there. And perhaps at one point or another, the government or forces within the government would stage a fake alien invasion. I mean, you know, we're talking some really wazoo stuff here, guys.
Yeah, I remember when these stories were coming out, listening to the tidbits here and there on the radio, and it was fairly interesting, and it did create quite a controversy in the ufology community. So it's really interesting to see after all this time how it's all played out. I mean, that he was, like you say, he was talking about JFK was assassinated because he was going to reveal that there was an alien presence and that he was actually killed by his driver, who was an alien. And then you're saying he later changed that to the whole UFO conspiracy was created by the government itself in order to take away people's rights and freedoms. So really interesting. Where do we go, Don?
Well, I'm back to bed. What do you mean? That's where we go. We go back to bed. This guy, I knew, I had a gut, real deep down, I had a gut feeling that ultimately this would not turn out well. Now, one thing I didn't really go into, because I don't know how relevant it is. But when I ran my exposés on Cooper, he began attacking us, not only me, my wife, the magazine. I had mentioned Billy Goodman, a Billy Goodman radio show out of Vegas, that Cooper became Goodman's bread and butter draw on his show. Because every time Cooper would come on his show, Billy's ratings would go up. People were curious. They wanted to hear what this guy had to say. So after he was fired, right before he had been fired, Cooper had been on Goodman's show one night, and he began attacking myself and UFO magazine, and I got word of it. So
I can imagine how that went.
Yeah, I got word of it, and I had called Goodman up, and I basically demanded to be brought on his show and confront Cooper. And he told me he would do it, and that's the week that Goodman got fired. Now, a short time later, not real long, Goodman began broadcasting on a network out of Utah.
Why did Goodman get fired?
Well, as I said at the beginning of the show, I don't know.
Oh, okay. It sounded like it might have been connected with.
Ask Gene. You really don't have to have a good reason to be fired in radio, do you, Gene?
No, they look at you and say, you're fired. Even more so than that guy in Washington. They just look at your face. And that day they don't like you, they will fire you. I can give you one case in a moment, a case history of how I got fired, which in radio happens more often than you want.
Right.
Gene, Randall, and Don, you're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, we've made such a deal with HelloFresh, and it means that everyone listening to this show can receive $30 off your first week of deliveries when you go to HelloFresh.com and use the offer code Paracast30. You know, with HelloFresh, you can choose the delivery day that works best for you. They've got a wide variety of chef-curated recipes that change weekly. And can you imagine me cooking Japanese panko chicken? It makes me feel like cook. I'm a chef. It means also that you could actually get your meal cooked in 30 minutes. For busy people, this is perfect. The simple recipes include step-by-step instructions so even I can figure it out. Go to HelloFresh.com, use the offer code Paracast30 to get $30 off your first week of deliveries. HelloFresh.com.
Normal blood pressure, naturally. How would that make you feel?
I'm Don from New Mexico. January of 2000, I had a heart attack. Then my real health began going downhill. I had high blood pressure, diabetes, poor vision. I wasn't sleeping well. I was a mess.
Don reports dramatic improvements with Heart and Body Extract.
I started taking Heart and Body Extract. From within a few days, I started sleeping better. My blood pressure normalized. My diabetes normalized. My sleep improved.
Experience these benefits and more when your body heals itself with the assistance of Heart and Body Extract. Order at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305. That's hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305.
And folks, I did not expect this at all. By the 7th, 8th, and 9th day, I saw dramatic improvements from taking Heart and Body Extract.
Heart and Body Extract comes with a 100% ironclad money-back guarantee. Details at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305 for Heart and Body Extract.
Tired of being censored by Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Patreon? Well, now you don't have to be. OneWay.com is the free speech and human-friendly social network built just for you. Stop feeding the beast. Every post you make on those evil, anti-human, anti-American perverted sites helps them destroy our families, our country, and our souls. Join One Way today and take back your liberty. Your free speech alternative is waiting for you at OneWay.com. OneWay.com.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
My first job in radio, Piedmont, Alabama. WPID. This is back in the 60s. And the people around the town said WPID meant, well, Piedmont is dead. No insult to people in Piedmont. It's a town of about 5,000 people then. Halfway between halfway between Birmingham and Atlanta. Don't ask me. In fact, we tried to do the walk towards Atlanta one time, but just go to the Georgia border. It's a long story. Anyway, new manager takes over the station, same ownership. And one day comes in. This is probably around the Christmas holidays, which is when people get fired. And he hands me a check and says, Gene, I got to let you go. Why? Anything I did? No. Turns out he wanted to bring in his nephew.
Yeah, that's about the way it goes. So anyway, Goodman begins his show on this network out of Utah. Basically, same story, different day. Okay, one of his big draws was Bill Cooper. So one night, I am sitting at home about 9:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere around there, I think. And my phone rings. Now, as a rule, anytime you get a phone call after at least 9 o'clock, it's never good news, right? I answered the phone, and it was a guy I knew. And he said, Don, are you listening to Billy Goodman? No, I'm watching TV and thinking about maybe going to bed. Well, geez, Don, Bill Cooper is on Goodman's show, and he's really tearing you up. Well, this was after part 1 of my expose on Cooper came out. Part 2 was in the wings, was coming out. And Cooper, true to his word, was trying to destroy me. So I said thanks, hung up, turned on the radio, found Goodman's station, and Cooper is on there. So I had his number to call in, and I did. And I got his producer on the line. And I told him, I said, I think his producer's name was Roger. And I said, Roger, this is Don Ecker of UFO Magazine. I've been defamed on this show tonight. Okay. So if you would, you get a hold of Billy and you tell him these are his choices. He can bring me on right now or tomorrow. My attorneys will be in touch with Billy and the station. So he put me on hold. He got a hold of Billy, told him I was on the telephone, and came back and he said, okay, he said, you'll be brought on right after this next break. So then Billy started beating the drums. Here was his dream, okay? This ultimate showdown between Bill Cooper and Don Ecker right here on Billy Goodman's Happening. You know, it went from bad to worse then, but I got a chance to really tear into him. As a matter of fact, some of that I included in my 2-hour radio expose of Cooper. But this was a very, very, very dicey time. There were many things happening in the field. At that point, the abduction phenomenon really was taking off. Many more people were coming out claiming alien abductions. The first hints of the missing fetus syndrome were beginning to make the airwaves. In other words, that women claiming to be in the early stages of pregnancy were being abducted and the fetuses were being removed. I mean, this is all old stuff now, but back then, this was really big news. Today, in many respects, I would have to say today's ufology is a pale imitation of what had been happening back then. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but we had so many well-known researchers then doing some really good work, and much of that has fallen by the wayside.
Do you have a recording of your confrontation with Cooper on that radio show, or do you know where you can find it?
Yes, you can find it in the Dark Matters radio page on the Paracast.
So this is actually on this other person's show, not your show, but you managed to get a recording of that and put it on your site for us to be able to access.
What I did was, you see, this 2-hour show that I put together, this expose, it's on YouTube. It's also there at the Paracast and in my DMR page. I took Cooper from his own words, with him speaking them. I give an overview of everything that was happening during this period of time, including excerpts from this Goodman show. It's all there.
Oh, fabulous. Okay, I'll have to check that out. So carry on. You were talking about the early days of the abduction phenomena.
Yeah, these were all the things at that time that were coming to the forefront. Now, I began broadcasting my original show, UFOs Tonight, on the cable radio network, CRN, from 91 through 96. And during that period of time, I even had Bill Cooper call my show in an attempt to embarrass me using a fake voice. I mean, this guy was insidious, except I recognized who it was, and I embarrassed him on the air.
You know, this was worse than a Howard Stern stunt then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Baba Booey.
Well, Baba Booey, I don't mind because he's fundamentally a nice guy that's just having fun.
Yeah, well, this guy was vicious, vindictive. George Knapp described him best, in my opinion. He was like a cornered rat, vicious, vile, and biting. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And that came from George. So, but this all culminated when he had his hour of the time shortwave broadcast, and he ended up losing that because he couldn't afford it. And then he kind of drifted out of the public sight. But during this period of time, like I had mentioned, the feds had several felony warrants out for him for tax resistance and for bank fraud.
That's a great point to break, and we'll find out what happened with that. More to come with a fascinating tale with Don Ecker, J. Randall Murphy, and Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
You've seen crazy diets to lose weight. At GCN Team, our healthy body weight loss system simply neutralizes the body, bringing down cravings. It has been proven that nutritional deficiencies drive appetite for carbs, sugars, and fats. Lose weight the easy way. Find us at GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. Fighting cravings is a fool's game. Give the body what it needs to be satisfied. Again, 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size for incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency. Get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
For USA Radio News, I'm Wendy King.
The most important thing is to make sure that everybody in this fire knows, everybody in the fire zone knows that the whole state is with them.
The governor of Colorado offering some comforting words to thousands of people affected by wildfires burning across the state. Governor John Hickenlooper spent much of Friday touring two wildfire command centers, one in Spring Creek and the other in Lake Christine. The Spring Creek fire, which is now the third largest in the state's history, has grown to more than 100,000 acres and forced more than 2,000 people out of their homes. Wildfires that have destroyed dozens of buildings and caused at least one death continue to ravage California as well. In San Diego County, a handful of fires prompted evacuation orders for more than 1,000 homes. You're listening to USA Radio News.
Does your business spend $500 a month or more on gas and electric bills? Did you know by making a simple free phone call, you can save up to 25% on your bill every month? What could you do with a 25% savings on utility bills every month? Energy deregulation is now available in your state. Making one simple phone call will show you how we can lower your gas and electric bills instantly with no changes to your bill and no enrollment fee. This is a free service. The only thing you'll notice is a lower bill every month. Call U.S. Power and Light right now. Learn how easy it is to lower your utility bills for your business and save money. We promise. So if you spend over $500 a month on your gas and electric bills, please call right now and unleash your savings. 800-941-3381. 800-941-3381. 800-941-3381. That's 800-941-3381.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-261-9818 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-261-9818. Again, 800-261-9818.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
We're waiting with bated breath, Don Ecker. Please proceed.
So when he lost his radio gig, okay, he was living in Edgar, Arizona. Now, while he was out here still in California, this was a part of the story I really didn't get into, but back before he blew up publicly, he had been approached by a couple of guys from the entertainment industry. One of them, a very well-known actor by the name of Doug Dean. If you ever saw The Ballad of Cat Ballou, which was a 60s Western with Jane Fonda, Michael Callan was one of the stars in that film. And Callan's best buddy, an old-time studio executive by the name of Doug Dean. Now, they contacted me after their association with Cooper, and it self-combusted. Basically, these two guys had wanted to package Cooper in the show business manner and basically take him on the road. Cooper had signed a contract with them. So he would go out to these places where he was giving his presentations. He was being videotaped, all this show business stuff. Cooper's business partner on his side of the equation was a guy by the name of Stan Barrington. Now, Barrington was selling videotapes of Cooper and his presentations. And Barrington was supposed to be announcing all the monies that were being brought in from the sale of these tapes. But Cooper, along with his other faults, his nastiness, his aggressiveness, his alcoholism, he had the greed for the almighty buck. And they were not disclosing all the proceeds to their partners, Michael Callan and Doug Dean. Then Cooper tried to break his contract. He demanded that Callan and Dean hand over the master tapes that they had on Cooper's presentations that they videotaped, and they refused. And this, incidentally, several of these phone calls are also included in my 2-hour show. One night, both Callan and Dean received a total, each of them, 5 telephone calls from Bill Cooper. And in each call, you can hear Cooper becoming more and more intoxicated to the point where he was literally threatening their lives. Now, Doug Dean at that time was almost 70 years of age, okay? He was not married. He was living by himself. He was down in Arizona. He became concerned for his safety. So he called up a friend and asked if he could come over and spend the night. And incidentally, both he and Callan reported these calls immediately to the police. The next morning, early, Doug Dean's gardener was at his house working around the house when Bill Cooper pulled in. Cooper attempted to break into Dean's house, and then he noticed the gardener. Well, he disappeared for a few minutes, then he left. Now, the gardener told Dean all of this. Dean came home later that day, and when he did, all the tires on his second automobile had been slashed. So, I mean, that's the kind of guy you were talking about. Now, this was probably circa 90-91. So now we're getting toward the end of the decade. Cooper had been married to a woman, a Chinese national, and they had a little girl. Now, I had some buddies in Southern California here that were police officers. And when I was talking to them about this, I discovered that there had been multiple calls to the Long Beach Police Department about domestic disturbances at William Cooper's house, where he would be drinking, would become intoxicated, and then would get abusive toward his wife. She finally had enough, packed up, took the little girl, and left the country. So now Cooper moved to Edgar, Arizona. And you can imagine the mental state he was in at this time. Well, in November of 2001, just a very short time after the 9/11 attacks, he's down there, paranoid, I'm sure, delusional, probably intoxicated much of the time. Somebody entered his property, turned around and left. He immediately went running outside, jumped into his vehicle, chased this guy down, pulled him out of his car at gunpoint. This guy was a medical doctor, and the guy was terrified. As soon as he could, he got away. He immediately notified the sheriff, and they decided, they knew who this guy was. I mean, they were aware of the federal warrants. The feds, I think, were afraid to go out and serve those warrants because, remember, something else that had recently happened, okay, which cast a really sour light on federal law enforcement. The Waco Branch Davidian compound slaughter, where over 100 people died. They were probably afraid of a repeat of that. So the sheriff's department decided to have a couple of their deputies in plain clothes go out there, come on to Cooper's property like they were a couple of teenagers, and have him exit the house where they could serve the warrant. Well, they did, and he did. And when they tried to arrest him, he broke back for his house. A cop was up on his porch, jumped out. Cooper fired his gun, struck this policeman in the head, and the other deputies immediately returned fire. And that was the end of Bill Cooper.
All right, so this sounds like a movie. Where's the screenplay?
Well, I'm sure if we wait long enough, somebody will probably write one.
Well, maybe we'll inspire somebody here. What do we learn from William Cooper, or is it just some crazy guy who got in over his head and just kind of went so far off the edge that he suffered the final defeat?
You know, I'm not sure. Anything I say, other than my direct knowledge of things, of certain aspects, would be speculation. I think that back in the late 1980s, when he first surfaced on the original Paranet, I think the guy originally came on, was trying to, remember, we were talking about the very early days of computers and commuting, talking to people on the computer, instant messaging and things like that. This was all brand new. And people, when they were first exposed to it, were loving it, especially if other people acknowledge your existence. I think Cooper originally did this as a lark. This is my speculation. And then somewhere in his mind, he thought, I'll bet I could be a star. Okay?
And before we decide whether we can be stars on this show, no, don't expect it. We've got Don, Gene, and Randall. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on our distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Most of you know that heart disease is the #1 silent killer in the U.S. What if I told you for just $54.95 a month you could fight against heart disease naturally? At Heart and Body Extract, we've been helping thousands of people get back to a healthier heart. Don't just take my word for it. Check out all of the success stories at hbextract.com. Or to order, call 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. hbextract.com. Don't risk it when you can take charge of it.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Homemakers. Groceries by mail ships free. Try our amazing bacon. It stores in your pantry. No refrigeration required. Our value-added packaging provides a 10-year shelf life and protects the leanest, thickest, center-cut, fully cooked bacon in America today. Ready to eat right from the pouch or warm and serve. Always priced less than grocery for your everyday use. Savory and delicious. Order today at readytoeatbacon.com. readytoeatbacon.com.
With uncertain times in the United States, it's only prudent to consider storing precious metals in a safe place outside of our borders. At Miles Franklin Limited, we have done just that for you. Partnered with the most respected storage company in the industry, Miles Franklin Limited is proud to offer the only fully insured private safe deposit box system in North America, held in Vancouver and Toronto. Send us your previously purchased precious metals or have one of our brokers help you purchase something new. Questions? Please call one of our experienced brokers at 866-485-4346. Solid foundational storage partnered with the most respected name in security. That's Miles Franklin Limited. Celebrating our 29th year in business without ever receiving a customer complaint. Call us at 866-485-4346. Again, that's 866-485-4346. Miles Franklin Limited, a name you can trust.
Healthcare reform is confusing. With the loss of the Obamacare mandate, those needing help can now choose an affordable alternative. By joining Liberty HealthShare, you're part of a community of health-conscious Americans all over the country who control their own healthcare costs and choices. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It is an association of self-pay patients who unite with like-minded people to share the cost of their medical needs. Neighbor helping neighbor. Learn more now by going to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
This is Kurt Sotheby, author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
As I was saying before, we have a second radio show called After the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next. We offer to subscribers of the Paracast Plus. Go to theparacast.com, theparacast.com for more information. We offer a version of this show free of the network ads. So the people on iTunes and on YouTube who say ads, and they always exaggerate, by the way. The ads are between 8 and 11 minutes or something like that, separated. And they say it's an ad every 2 seconds. I listen to 11 minutes of the show. And no, it doesn't happen. Check out plus.theparacast.com. So, Don, this is got to be one of the more fascinating episodes in the UFO field. Kind of a sad episode because it ended up in a way that was very unfortunate. I mean, we've had lots of wacky people who get involved.
Well, look, you got to realize that what I've told you here today is not even scratching the surface. There was so much more to this. It was, it was unbelievable. But this is a good place. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see the results of what Jacobson's book is going to be. He had told me he was going to have his publisher. He used a ton from what he said days ago to me when I talked to him on the phone. He said he used a ton of my information. He was just giddy at that 2-hour radio show I sent him a copy of, because here's a guy that's basically been now dead for almost 17 years. And here's Cooper in his own voice, okay, doing a lot of this, stuff. I mean, it's one thing to have me sit here and tell you what happened, and it's another to be actually able to hear what happened. So, from the guy's own mouth. So he's going to have his publisher send me the galleys, and I'm going to be able to take a look at it, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But, anytime you're dealing with basically what I call the straight media, okay, which traditionally has always been more than rough on anybody investigating the UFO phenomenon. I mean, Gene, you've been around a long time. You know how most mainstream media traditionally has treated this subject.
In my early years, Don, I was a member of the mainstream media while still covering UFOs. So I understand, but I worked in smaller towns or suburban communities with radio stations, and the difference is, in those cases, we covered it straight. They didn't ask me to slant a UFO story one way or the other. In fact, I would ask, I say, do you have any concern about me covering this UFO episode? And they said, no, absolutely not. Go ahead, do what you have to do. And that was it. But when you get into the larger media, they're looking sometimes for entertainment. They're looking for ratings. And therefore, things change. Also, I did a lot of this work before Roone Arledge at ABC added the news division to his stewardship of the sports division at ABC. They realized that news could be a profit center. And when I was doing this, it wasn't a profit center, it was a public service. So that made a very, very big difference. Go ahead, please.
Well, that's why today I do my best to totally disassociate myself from any news. I don't believe any of it, okay? It's all geared toward infotainment, all right? Infotainment. You very, very seldom do you get the straight news. It's not like Huntley and Brinkley and Walter Cronkite and Edward J. Murrow. You know, those guys today are legendary for a reason. You know, if you heard Huntley and Brinkley or Walter Cronkite give you a story in the 60s, well, you could pretty much take it to the bank. And news departments then had reporters spanning the globe. It spanned the globe. They expected to lose money, the corporations, because, like you said, they were not then in the business of making a profit. When they went to the profit-making center of things, that's when the public began to suffer.
Okay, let's get back to the UFOs and JFK for a second here. I don't think the idea that JFK was assassinated over the UFO cover-up was necessarily unique to Cooper. Do either of you guys remember if someone else had come up with it before Cooper and that this was just something he was promoting, or do you think he came up with it himself? I mean, back around 1990, I wrote a song for my alternative rock band called Who Really Killed John Kennedy, which asked the question of whether or not it was a conspiracy designed to maintain the lid on the UFO cover-up. I came up with that myself. So maybe there was this sort of idea in the air that people were just picking up on. Comments?
Well, I don't recall if there was a lot of chatter about JFK. The one thing I heard about JFK, one of the reasons he was going to he could not stand was because he was going to do something with the Fed, okay, the economy. He was going to I forget now exactly what the theory was, but the other thing that probably contributed to Kennedy being murdered was the Central Intelligence Agency. Allen Dulles then was the guy running the CIA, and Kennedy was heard to have said he was going to smash these guys into 1,000 pieces. Remember what President Dwight Eisenhower had said as he was leaving office. And I'm paraphrasing now, but beware the military-industrial complex. In other words, back then, over 60 years ago, Eisenhower saw how the military-industrial complex was becoming the octopus that had their tentacles into everything. You know, it's kind of like Lockheed back then when they were coming out with all this ultra tech, high budget black programs, the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71, all this other stuff. Do you have any conception the billions of dollars that these programs were sucking up then and are sucking up now? It's unbelievable, the money, and money means what? Power. Whoever has their hands on the power and the money, believe me, they'll do what needs to be done to ensure that nobody interferes with the status quo.
And part of the problem also is that there's no real concern about cost overruns. I mean, if you're in a small company and someone comes over and they bid on a remodeling of your restaurant, okay? And they say, okay, it's going to cost you $12,000. And you expect to pay $12,000. And if they have anything extra, you know, you're going to have to approve a change. And you're going to be pretty angry if they say, no, it's 15. No, you agreed 12. You signed the contract. In the military-industrial complex, if there's a cost overrun of 50%, nobody cares. Oh, you can't build that plane for $170 million. It's $350 million or something, or $400 million. All right. Cost of doing business.
Yeah, and if you come in to rattle the cage about that kind of stuff, golly, who knows? You may be walking down the street one day and a safe falls out of the sky right on top of your head. Or you're driving down the freeway going 75 miles an hour. Oh my, the brakes failed. You know, I mean, these things actually happen.
I think the military-industrial complex, that was the angle that the Oliver Stone film took. Huge money involved in all of that.
We also have to look at the Vietnam War and how that was inspired by the military-industrial complex, Gulf of Tonkin, for example. We got a lot more to come, but not about the military-industrial complex unless it relates to UFOs. Don Ecker, J. Randall Murphy, I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. You know, we have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got like, I guess, 60 or so different items, and entails T-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of T-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, you know, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
Do you have a family? Would you like to help make sure they'll be taken care of if anything were to happen to you? If you answered yes, you probably need life insurance. Now, do you think life insurance is expensive? If you answered yes to that too, you definitely need to give AIG Direct a call. We could find you a $250,000 policy for just $14 a month, which means you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Call us now for a free, no-obligation quote. 1-800-910-5936. Since 1995, we've helped millions of people find out if they could save up to 70% on their term life insurance. See how affordably we can help you protect your family. Call AIG Direct now for your free quote. 1-800-910-5936. You could save up to 70%. That's 1-800-910-5936. 1-800-910-5936.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So, briefly, because this is certainly something under your alley, Don Ecker, would you say that the reality of the military-industrial complex came to the fore during the Vietnam War?
Oh, no. It was there long before that.
Well, that was a blatant example, certainly.
When the Manhattan Project got rolling, the development of nuclear weapons, the atomic bomb, you don't get much more big than what was happening during the Second World War when they were working on that in complete, total secrecy. Well, except for Joe Stalin and the commie Russians, they knew about it. How did they know about it? Well, they had infiltrated, Soviet spies throughout the entire American infrastructure. They knew about it. But yeah, this A-bomb thing, when it finally blossomed in July of 45, President Roosevelt had died in April. I think it was April. And Harry Truman took over. Harry Truman, who had been the vice president, now was the president. Harry Truman didn't know about the A-bomb project. He had to be read into it. I mean, we're talking secrecy. We're talking billions of dollars. We're talking about some of the most draconian, security you can imagine. That's when I think the military-industrial complex really got rolling. And then at the end of the war, we finally defeated Germany. We defeated Imperial Japan. The new boogeyman on the horizon were the communists, the Russians. Historical events played out that proved that was true and correct. They were a gigantic threat. We started bringing in a lot of leftover Nazis, from the German Reich, rocket scientists that had been working on mind control programs, and that became the new shiny toy for the people back in D.C. to play with. And we got programs like MK Ultra, MK Artichoke, Naomi, a whole slew. I don't know how you guys feel about this. I was terrified by the thought of this. And what did a lot of this flow into? Questions about, are there really Manchurian candidates? Can a human being, I had at one point I had mentioned Long John Nebel and his wife, Candy Jones. Now, Candy Jones was in the 40s an absolutely breathtakingly beautiful woman, had been a model. I don't know where Nebel had encountered her. Maybe Gene does. But how he lucked out and got this gal, she was gorgeous. And then some weird things began to happen with her. Nebel and her explored that. She ended up agreeing to go under hypnosis to find out what the underlying problems were. And it came out. Now, whether this actually happened or not, I don't know. To me, there's still a lot of questions about it. There was a book written about this case called The Control of Candy Jones. I don't know if it can still be found or not.
It was written in 1976. The author was Donald Bain, and it appears to still be available on Amazon.
Okay.
All right. I'm looking it up right now. You can tell us more about it, but I'm almost thinking here that there's a slight resemblance to that other book from Chuck Barris, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Oh, yeah. So it came out that the allegation was that somehow the spooks at CIA got their hands on this beautiful woman, basically mind controlled and conditioned her to be a courier while she was under mind control, and perhaps they even, it's alleged, used her as an assassin. Now, it's funny, this past week, I was going back through some of my old radio shows. I had a guy on one, well, actually, I did several shows with him. He was kind of infamous back in the days we were just talking about. the late 80s, early 90s. His name that he was going by at the time was Michael Younger. All right. Younger was somehow plugged into intelligence. I mean, I know this for a fact because of some of the stuff that he came out with and he was privy to long before it ever became public knowledge. Now, on this one show, we were talking about the Robert Lazar story. Now, back in the very early days of the Bob Lazar story, he was over at John Lear's one day. And Lear, of course, was fascinated by what was really happening out at this place called Area 51. There had been stories for years about what really went on out there. And Lazar told Lear, he said, you know, it's funny. He said, I remember getting to work. I remember leaving work. And everything in between is a total blank, John. Well, then Lazar said, well, you know, when I was out there, he said, they gave me something to drink. It was kind of piney, it smelled almost like pine salt. Well, as it turned out, Gene, that was one of the things that came out in the early days about Candy Jones. She referred to that smell and that odor in one of her sessions. Now, that immediately caused my mind to click.
Let me interject one thing here before you go on, because there's going to be the comment, was this anything real? Years ago, and Jim Mosley was a close friend of Candy Jones, evidently. He'd go on the show after Long John died, and he'd maybe drive her home or something like that, mostly to be a cab or something like that. And the producer of the Long John Nebel show and Candy Jones show was a fellow named Sandy Teller. And one time, Jim asked Sandy Teller, what's the deal about this control of Candy Jones? Is this anything real? And he got the impression from Sandy Teller, who gave him winks and nods, that maybe they made some of it or all of it up, just as a point of reference.
Well, I got to say, I wouldn't be overly surprised by that. But yeah, you know, it's like everything else. If you're affiliated with this field in any manner whatsoever, the ultimate thing is basically, hey, we're never truly going to know. Because there's one thing about UFOs and other paranormal subjects, and you can take this to the bank, and you can tell the bank that I told you to say so. The frauds, the charlatans, the jokers, the hoaxsters, they're everywhere, okay? They're just there. And you can, unless you've actually experienced it yourself, or you are with somebody you implicitly trust, you're never going to know.
In our next segment, there's a question from one of our members of the audience that may be vaguely relevant to possible government control, and Randall will ask you that question. In our next segment, we're having a whale of a time here. Not talking about whales, but talking about UFOs, conspiracies, and a whole lot more. With Don Ecker, J. Randall Murphy, I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Deagle, MD, AAEM, ACAM, A4M of NutriMedical.com, and a consultant providing email advice free on advanced protocols for your optimized wellness and advanced technologies to heal and regenerate you. You can contact us at NutriMedical.com, that's NutriMedical.com, or 888-212-8871. You get free email starter protocols of our top medical-grade nutraceuticals, initial testing, and the recommendations for your own primary doctor to do, as well as recommendations to give you an idea of a consultation and a full protocol to try to help you regenerate your tissues, heal naturally without the use of toxic polypharmacy. I can send test kits to you as well anywhere in the world and provide you recommendations for referral of specialty clinics worldwide. So contact me, Dr. Bill Deagle, at NutriMedical.com. That's NutriMedical.com, or 888-212-8871.
Get the ultimate knife at an ultimate price. The Fox Karambit knife. Finally available in the U.S. The Fox Karambit knife opens with one hand, faster than you can pull a handgun. For utility, for defense, and for way less than other knives of this caliber. Go to theultimateknife.com. Truly the best knife you will ever own, and only available at theultimateknife.com. Use promo code radio at checkout for free shipping. Get the ultimate knife at the ultimate price at theultimateknife.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-301-5435. That's 800-301-5435. 800-301-5435.
Bacon lovers, we ship free. Try our amazing bacon. No refrigeration required. Proprietary value-added packaging provides 10-year shelf life and protects the leanest, thickest, center-cut, fully cooked bacon in America today. Ready to eat right from the pouch or warm and serve. Savory and delicious. Wholesale price for your everyday use. Order today at readytoeatbacon.com. readytoeatbacon.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Okay. Randall, you have that question?
I sure do. From one of our forum participants that goes by the initials TDSR. And he says the government is in control of this narrative and now has all of the creative insights of all the paranormal outlets to craft the most convenient and covert explanation at their convenience. UFOs being real or not, simply put, can we ever know the truth being so far down the river at this point? In your opinion, what would the truth even look like? Who would it come from? How could they be seen as credible?
If I received a pronouncement from the United States government that, Don Ecker, here are the facts. The sun rises in the east in the morning, and at nighttime, that big shiny light in the sky is the moon. Well, guys, I'm going to go outside and look, okay? That's the bottom line on that. I'm going to go outside and look. Now, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about in all my years of dealing with, my background in law enforcement, my service in Southeast Asia in the war, I've become quite a cynic. And, years ago, and Gene will tell you, I was coined the curmudgeon of ufology these days, right? It used to be, I think, Jim Mosley and maybe a couple other people, but somehow today I've inherited that mantle, and by golly, I've earned it.
And wear it proudly. Cynicism is a life skill, especially in this particular subject, for sure. Well, what about in the early days, though, Don, when people didn't really ridicule it at first? It was just a really interesting subject. And then the United States Air Force got into it. And so now we can go back and we can look at a lot of the declassified Blue Book files. And it looks to me like they're the real thing. It doesn't look like they created them to try to fool us. It seemed to me that there was a real investigation that they took seriously, and that at least some of the people in the Air Force really took the phenomena seriously. They believed that their fighter pilots were chasing real objects, real craft.
Yeah,
so,
they did. And once again, Randall, you've got to be very familiar with the history. Now, Gene knew to some extent Donald Kehoe. Donald Kehoe was the director of NICAP, the National Investigative Committee on Aerial Phenomena. And when that organization was begun, there were some very high-level guys involved in NICAP, including Roscoe Hillenkotter. Roscoe Hillenkotter, who was a classmate of Kehoe. Kehoe had been a graduate from the Naval Academy at Annapolis, had entered the United States Marine Corps, had been one of the early Marine Corps aviators. He was a pilot until he was involved in an air crash and subsequently medically retired. Now, Hillenkotter, if there was anyone that would have been privy to stuff you and I could only dream about, it would have been Hillenkotter and others on the NICAP board. And Kehoe had never made it secret that although it was a different age, he was a polite man, actually too polite in some cases for my taste. He would not go necessarily toe-to-toe with these guys feeding him a line of crap the way I would have, okay? But be that as it may, Kehoe knew that these guys were hiding stuff, okay? A lot of stuff. Now, you say that, in the early days, people were not ridiculed. Well, the actual phenomenon became widely known in 1947. That was the time of the Kenneth Arnold sighting above Mount Rainier. That was in the same time frame as the incident at Roswell, whatever that incident was, and a number of other things. And yeah, people were curious. The Air Force was dithering. The Air Materiel Command came out with a document that was ordered to be destroyed because their conclusion from this early document was that UFOs are real. They're not visionary or illusionary. Okay, they're a real craft, maybe from another planetary system.
Right, you're referring to the estimate of the situation. And then after that, then things started to go downhill.
The Air Force put together a project that Kehoe called publicly Project Saucer. The actual name was Project Sign. And then the Air Force ditched that program, and it was actually a program trying to get to the bottom of it. They next came up with something called Project Grudge, which says it all right there, Grudge. And then they entered Blue Book. Now, after Blue Book was put into operation, okay, which was a public program, it was headed up by an Air Force captain, Edward Ruppelt. He never had more than about 4 or 5 people working for him. It was done on less than a shoestring. It was there for one and one reason only. It was public relations, okay? They weren't serious about finding out in the public venue what was going on. Behind the scenes might have been another thing entirely, but publicly, and if you go back and you look at many of those reports and the Air Force explanation of what those reports actually were, you'll find out that the viewers, even though the observers would say, well, you know, this light came down and my God, it was just above those trees over there and it lit the whole ground up. What the guy actually saw was the planet Venus, according to the Air Force, even though the planet Venus might have been on the other side of the planet at the time. They would come out with any and every explanation to explain this away. Now, this was in the aftermath of the Robertson panel in January of '53. This was a program put together by the Central Intelligence Agency, some of the top scientific talent in the country, and senior military officers. They got together to discuss UFOs, but not what are UFOs or where do these things come from. No, their only raison d'etre for being there was simply, how do we get rid of this from the public venue?
That was the big dividing line and where it became taboo to talk about it. And Ruppelt writes that he took great exception because they even suggested that they should ridicule their own Air Force pilots. That didn't sit well with people who were in the Air Force, who were pilots, new pilots, and had interviewed them.
We've got more to come with Don, Gene, and Randall. You're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Healthcare reform is confusing, but whether it's finding an affordable insurance plan, keeping your doctor, or being able to afford needed prescriptions, navigating the healthcare system has become a challenge. Control your own healthcare costs and choices with Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It is an association of self-pay patients who unite with like-minded people to share the cost of each other's medical needs. Neighbor helping neighbor. Learn more now by going to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
USA Radio News with Chris Barnes.
We intended to build upon the agreements made by President Trump and Chairman Kim, and we made progress.
That's what Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says about his 2 days of talks in North Korea with top officials of that nation. Speaking in Tokyo, Pompeo says,
we had detailed and substantive discussions about the next steps towards a fully verified and complete denuclearization.
However, North Korea media slammed the meeting, calling the talks regrettable and saying American officials came with a gangster-like mindset. Word is an active rescue attempt for the youth soccer team trapped for over 2 weeks in a flooded cave in Thailand is now underway. The decision was made to start the mission to rescue the boys because of dropping oxygen levels and the threat of more monsoon rains in the next few days. And this is USA Radio News.
What's on your bucket list? Running a marathon, hiking to the top of a mountain, or maybe surfing? What if I told you you can accomplish all of it at any age? This is Wayne Allen Root, and I'd like to introduce you to somebody that's changed my life, made me feel years younger, maybe saved my life, my Cenegenics physician, Dr. Bob Lazar.
Thanks for the introduction, Wayne. At Cenegenics, we help people look and feel many years younger. We've been in business since 1997. We have locations across the United States, and we've treated over 35,000 patients worldwide. Our age management medicine is proven to work. On the Cenegenics program, you will have your own doctor, exercise counselor, and nutritionist all working together to fine-tune plans especially for you.
Thank you, Dr. Letta. I'm 57 and I feel like I'm 30 again. I feel the best of my life. I have the most energy of my life. Are you ready to start feeling the best of your life? Defy your age with Cenegenics. Call now for your free consultation at 888-YOUNGER. That's toll-free 888-YOUNGER. Or go to Cenegenics.com.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business. So make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Hi, this is Nick Pope. You're listening to the Paracast.
Randall, go ahead, please.
Right. So Ruppelt wasn't too happy about that. And it wasn't long after that that he was out of the project. And it isn't clear whether he was transferred or just requested to be reassigned out of disgust for the whole thing.
Well, originally, he had worked pretty close with Donald Kehoe and NICAP. He was seen as very friendly toward the UFO topic. In other words, he wanted to be open and upfront about what it was. But the man died at a very young age. And I'm going from memory now, but I believe he was only in his late 40s when he passed on. 48, maybe 49. And it was a sudden thing. Might have been a heart attack, I believe.
I think so. I think he died in 1960.
No.
1922 is when he's born.
Yeah, he died. It was in the 50s. It was around 56 or 57, if I remember correctly.
Officially at Wikipedia, it's September 15th, 1960. And he was 37, which was about the same age as Bobby Darin when he died, and both had heart conditions.
Right.
That's in Wikipedia?
Yes. And it's listed in different places. I'll kind of assume it's genuine because remember, he came out with a special or updated edition of the report on unidentified flying objects.
Where he totally, somebody got to him and he totally refuted the entire UFO thing. Okay.
Yeah, that came out shortly before he died. And of course, Kehoe wanted to be conspiratorial about it and implied that maybe he was under this pressure and he wasn't super healthy. And that's what happened. I'm looking, by the way, at Bobby Darin, and he did die at 37 years of age.
I was pretty sure that Ruppelt was in his 40s, but okay. All right. 37, that's not very old.
No, that's even worse. Now, with Bobby Darin, he had this heart condition, a congenital heart condition from his birth. With Ruppelt, I have no idea. I would not say it was the pressure of writing that second version of the book with 3 extra chapters that refuted the other chapters.
Well, if you guys want to know if they were if anyone was keeping an eye on Ruppelt and Kehoe, they were. There's an actual memo where from a Colonel Leonard T. Glasser to Air Technical Intelligence Center. It says, some of the UFO organizations, such as NICAP, well know the deficiencies in the Air Force program and take advantage of every opportunity to place us in a defensive position. In fact, it is understood that Captain Ruppelt, who was responsible for the ATIC part of the UFO program from early 1951 until 1953, is now affiliated with NICAP. In this organization alone, ex-Marine Corps Major Kehoe, a political adventurous, and Captain Ruppelt,
that's core, Randall, and not corpse. That's core.
Core. Okay, sorry. ATI specialists represent a formidable team. So they're calling them a formidable team from which plenty of trouble can be expected in the future. Both appear to be in the business for the money involved. Comparable conditions involving eminent authorities of questionable intentions exist in other of the 49 UFO organizations. So they knew the organizations and they were watching the people in it. It doesn't take much imagination to think that if a USAF colonel thinks someone with questionable intentions could cause plenty of trouble, that they might want something done about it.
Well, like I said, it was a different time, and you're correct. So, where does that leave us? Once again, another one of those little mysteries that make you go,
Let me give you another mystery here about the founding of NICAP. Of course, we consider Major Kehoe to be the main director, the real guy. T.
Townsend Brown.
Right. T. Townsend Brown was a guy involved in anti-gravity research. NICAP was a nonprofit organization, and I think there was a financial issue there before Kehoe took over involving whether or not Townsend Brown was diverting money to his private research, which would probably be a violation of the regulations with regard to nonprofit organizations. So in the shreds of NICAP, Kehoe came in there, then added all his military friends. And I always wondered here, because it seems so obvious with all the military people, like his classmate, Roscoe Henry Hillencotter, whether this was done deliberately to advance some kind of scheme about being kind of a place to cover up the UFO situation, or Kehoe is just naive, which kind of is what I kind of believe here because of the way he treated so many things in his book. You know, like, let's get congressional hearings because congressmen are too honest not to treat this responsibly. Things like that. I just think he was a military guy, brought up in the military, that he believed in a government that was trustworthy. And all these conspiracy things were limited to him in the silence group keeping the UFO secret. And I think that naive approach may have been the reason why he populated his organization with so many military people, because those are the people he hung out with.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Gene. I don't think it's as much of a conspiracy that it was infiltrated, but he actually knew these people and considered them part of his peer group.
Well, it was obvious how the military regarded Kehoe, and it was no better pointed out than the Armstrong Circle Theater, what they did to Kehoe, and then the Mike Wallace interview. Now, this is another little-known thing today. Most people probably are not aware of it. But after the Armstrong Circle Theater debacle, where Kehoe was cut off, in mid-sentence when he was stating what he knew to be a fact about the military and the UFO reports, they muted him, which created a firestorm literally across the country. Long John Nebel, among others, jumped in there, brought Kehoe on to talk about it.
And a teenage Gene Steinberg and his friend Ken Albert sent a telegram to Long John to ask Kehoe what happened.
But then Mike Wallace, sitting in studio, had a talk show. Back in those days, Wallace was basically a muckraker. All right? Wallace was a muckraker. And he was sitting, I'll never forget this. I had a video copy of this interview, sitting there smoking on screen. Okay, of course, everybody smoked back in those days. But Wallace is there blowing smoke rings out. And Kehoe was basically saying, look, we have these 4 documents. And Wallace cut him off. So wait a minute. He said, I called the Air Force. I talked to the Air Force. And if I'm not mistaken, Gene, the guy that he talked to was an Air Force colonel by the name of Tacker, okay, who at that time
Lawrence Tacker.
Yeah, was one of the public spokespeople from the Air Force that addressed UFO issues. And Wallace told him, they said to me, Major Kehoe, that 3 of the 4 documents that you reference do not exist, and the 4th one does exist, but it doesn't say what you said it says. Now, basically, on the Air Force tried a public assassination of Kehoe's character. And this is one of the places where I said he was too nice of a guy, because I would have been in Wallace's face, but Kehoe said simply, I stand by what I said.
We're going to stand by this announcement and then conclude the show. In our next segment with Don Ecker, Gene Steinberg, J. Randall Murphy, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
As you know, neighbors, web hosting can be pretty cheap, but not all hosting is the same. DreamHost wins Best of Awards year after year. You get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, and even the low-cost plans put your sites on high-performance SSDs. Want to know more about what DreamHost has to offer? Go to technightowl.com/host. Once again, that's technightowl.com/host.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Want revenge on the common housefly? Well, after 10,000 years, someone has finally come up with a better way. The Bug Assault, a miniaturized shotgun, which utilizes ordinary table salt as ammunition. Non-toxic and no batteries required. So much fun, you'll forget you have a wife and kids. $39.95 and free economy shipping. Use discount code GCN and get an extra 10% off your purchase at bugassault.com. Fire your fly swatter. Get your Bug Assault today.
Now there's a proven powerful anti-inflammatory that absorbs 40 times better. Yes, Nano Curcumin Plus from One Planet Nutrition contains smaller particle size that allows absorption over 40 times better into your bloodstream. Nano Curcumin Plus may also help reduce pain and inflammation, detoxify, and help against heart disease and diabetes. Nano Curcumin Plus is now on sale at OnePlanetNutrition.com. Use promo code GCN for your special discount at OnePlanetNutrition.com, the next generation of nutritional supplementation.
You have been lied to, generation after generation, time after time after time.
If you follow the money, then you understand why America's in the condition it's in.
You know, you created the Federal Reserve in 1913 through lies. You create 9/11. Through 9/11, you're fighting a war on terror, and now all of a sudden you go into Iraq, which was another lie.
This book will open people's eyes. Order now at KillingUncleSamBook.com. KillingUncleSamBook.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you could move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry my pillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's MyPillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN. This is Fred.
Hi, I'm Fred.
Fred's a repeater.
I tend to repeat.
Fred has a business.
I do have a business.
And a problem. Fred repeats the same tired advertising over and over, and now it doesn't work.
Over and over.
But Fred is about to see a vision.
I'm seeing a vision.
Advertising on the Genesis Communications Network is the smart way for Fred to reach his potential customers with the most affordable national advertising rates, period. Get started today with GCN, the Genesis Communications Network. Just email advertise@gcnlive.com.
Hey, this is Marie D. Jones, the author of This Book is from the Future, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
Mike Wallace, Don Kehoe, such a nice guy. Don?
Yeah, so Kehoe simply tried to refute by what Wallace said by simply stating, I stand by my remarks. Now, today, we know that Kehoe was absolutely being correct and honest and truthful. Those documents all do exist, okay? And the document that Wallace was referring to that did exist, but it didn't say what Kehoe said it said, was the estimate of the situation. Okay. Now, what does all this mean? Well, about 20 years ago, or a little over 20 years ago, we were discussing this on my show. My co-host at the time, Dwight Schultz, internationally renowned screen and stage star, had a huge interest in the UFO phenomenon. I met him. We became friends. I invited him to appear one time on the show, and he did such a great job. Not that I was surprised, but I said, look, when you're in town and you're available, you're always free to come in here and sit down and co-host, which he often took advantage of. So we're talking about this incident with Mike Wallace. Now, Schultz knows a lot of people, and he also knows how to get in touch with a lot of people. Well, he wrote Wallace a letter referencing this situation, and he basically asked him, well, you know, all those years ago, Mr. Wallace, you made out that Kehoe was lying about this material, these documents. Well, today we know that Kehoe was absolutely correct. How do you feel about being used by the Air Force to try to assassinate his character? Wallace never responded. So Schultz wrote him again, and Wallace never responded. We have cases like that where these people are never held to account. And I got to tell you, at the time, I was very upset about that. Here was a guy, Kehoe, say about him what you want. He utilized hyperbole. He was this, he was that. He was excitable in his writing, and he loved these mysteries, and he'd really, tie them up in knots to get the reading public to buy his books. But the guy was, in my book, he was a straight shooter. Nobody ever had to answer for that, ever.
Yeah, he wasn't too impressed with the Condon report either, from what I recall.
That's just for another show on the Condon report. That was something. I got into it with a skeptic by the name of Curtis Peebles. Lives out here in Southern California. In one of his books, I still have the book, he was talking about the Condon report. He was talking about the document that was disclosed prior to the Condon report the Condon committee sitting down to examine the evidence. Edward Condon, a schlockmeister of the first order. Condon, there's a lot about that. As a matter of fact, they rushed the conclusion out from the Condon report. This was in 1968, before Richard Nixon was sworn in as president, and there was a reason for that. This is another little known fact. But Nixon garnered much of his hate in the late 40s, the early 50s. This was during the Great Red Scare. He sat as one of the committee members on the House of Un-American Activities. Edward Condon at that time was put under scrutiny and under the microscope, and Condon loathed Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon loathed Condon. Now remember, this was during the Democratic administration of Lyndon Johnson.
But didn't Richard Nixon loathe just about everybody?
No, I got a nice letter from him one time. So I'm gonna go on the assumption he didn't loathe me. Of course, then again, he didn't know me. But at any rate, this was under Lyndon Johnson's administration, and a brand new, like every time the administration changes, suddenly everything gets turned upside down, topsy-turvy. And they wanted to get their report out and gone because perhaps just out of spite, Nixon might have gone after these guys in this report. There's no way of knowing. Now, we've all heard the rumors for years that Nixon knew a lot about the UFO topic, that he had a great, great interest in it. We all know the stories about him and his golfing buddy, Jackie Gleason, and Nixon allegedly taking Gleason down to an Air Force base in Florida where he allowed him to view the body of a dead ET. We've heard all these stories.
Don, I'd really like to back up here just for a minute because this is too important not to just make sure we've got clear here. You were saying that Kehoe had a copy of the estimate of the situation because those were all supposed to have been burned. Are you sure you weren't referring to the Twining document, the Twining briefing, where he says the phenomena reported is something real, not visionary or fictitious? Or is he alleged to actually have a copy of the estimate of the situation?
Well, the estimate of the situation was not totally destroyed. Later on, as a matter of fact, Leonard Stringfield had a facsimile of that. It was my understanding, I don't know if Kehoe had an actual copy of it, but it was my understanding the estimate of the situation is what Kehoe referred to.
Interesting, because we've been trying to find an actual copy of that for years. It's almost like one of the holy grails of ufology, and yet I haven't been able to find any, and there's none online. I haven't seen it published anywhere. Ruppelt referred to it and said there were a few copies that survived, one of which he saw. So I could see how Kehoe might have ended up with it, which would be really interesting if we could track that down historically somehow.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, this is a good place to kind of end it for now. You know, there's a lot more to talk about. And I'd like to see if our guests, Don Ecker and our special guest co-host, J. Randall Murphy, can rejoin us for a little while on After the Paracast. Is that possible if we get the scheduling right?
You can count me in.
Well, I'd have to be able to work into the schedule.
We'll work it out with these gentlemen. Don Ecker, please tell our listeners if they want to know more about the things you do, and it's quite considerable. Tell us more.
Dark Matters Radio airs Friday evenings and Saturday evenings on KGRAradio.com. We begin at 5 p.m. Pacific time on both Friday, Saturday, and at 7 Pacific time. On the East Coast, it's 8 to 10. And you can find me online at Facebook on my personal page and the Don Ecker and Dark Matters Radio fan page.
Good stuff, Don. Randall Murphy, where do we find you? Tell us about your site.
Oh, I'm still working on the upgrade to my site at ufopages.com.
You can find us on Twitter if you look for the Paracast. Look for the Paracast on Twitter. Look for 2 official Paracast fan clubs on Facebook. And someday we'll combine them. In fact, we're working with an artist right now to redesign our site, the Facebook page, and also our YouTube page. So we're on YouTube too. Just look for the Paracast on YouTube. We also have After the Paracast, which is our special extra show that's available only if you're a subscriber to the Paracast Plus For more information, go to plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. We offer subscriptions starting at just $1.49 a week, and we give free stuff with the 5-year subscriptions and the lifetime subscriptions, so check them out, plus.theparacast.com. One more thing, we give you a version of this show with better quality audio, free of the network ads. You can't beat that. Don Ecker, thank you for joining us on the Paracast.
Oh, you're welcome, Gene.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.